Alright, hi, we're going to start our Go Math lesson 19.7 today. We are working on conclusions and predictions. Before we start, I do want to tell you that today we are only doing the Go Math lesson in the book. There are no additional worksheets that you have to complete today. Those worksheets that are still left in there that go with this lesson, we are going to do tomorrow instead of a new lesson. So just keep those aside. Don't overwhelm yourself with too much. Let's just focus on the book today. All right, conclusions and predictions. How can you use data from the graph to draw conclusions and make predictions? So predictions or conclusions are things that you take away from what you've done or what you've read, right? It's what you think. So let's explore the real world. It says draw to complete the graph, then use the graph to solve. So let's read what the problem is. It says, in week 1, Nathan worked on his project for 1 hour. In week 2, he worked on his project for 2 hours. In week 3, he worked on his project for 4 hours. In week 4, Nathan worked 3 hours on his project. Did Nathan work more hours on his project in week 3 or week 4? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fill in this bar graph. They have not filled it in. They did write the number scale on the side. They did write the label. They did write week 1, week 2, week 3. They did write the title. We just have to fill in the rest. So you can take out your crowns to do this with your crowns. Again, when we do bar graphs, it's good to do them in different colors. Each bar a different color. It's easier to read and see that way. Alright, so let's fill in the information. In week 1, Nathan worked on his project for 1 hour. So how many boxes am I going to color in for week 1? 1. Okay, so crowns or color pencils, please do not use marker. It's going to bleed through. Alright. Now for the next bar, I'm going to change my color. In week 2, he worked on his project for how many hours? In week 2, he worked on his project for 2 hours. So how many boxes am I going to color in for week 2? 2. 1, 2. I'm going to color in 2. Okay. In week 3, he worked on his project for how many hours? 4 hours. 4. So how many boxes am I going to color in? 4. 4. Oh, you can barely see it, but on my computer it shows green. But again, my board is really, really bad. Okay, anyway, you can do yours whatever color you want, but I'm just trying to use different colors because I always kind of use the same primary colors. Alright, next is week 4. In week 4, Nathan worked how many hours? 3 hours on his project. How many boxes am I going to color in? 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to read the question. The question is, did Nathan work more hours on his project in week 3 or week 4? Let's see, week 3 he worked how many hours? 4. And in week 4 he worked 3. So which week did he work more hours?
Week 3.
He worked more hours in week 3 than in week 4. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Pretty easy. All right, use the data to make a conclusion. Describe the changes that the data shows. So a conclusion is what you get from reading the graph, the bar graph or the pictograph, what you understand from it. What is the idea? What's that main idea of it? What do we understand from reading it? All right, so predict. How tall do you think the plant will be in 5 weeks? Predict means like making an educated guess. Based on the information they give you, guess what the 5th week will be. All right, so let's look at the change in the data. Let's first read this bar graph and see what are they measuring. What is the title? What are they measuring? They're measuring the height of the plant's height. The height, how long it is, how long the plant is each month or each week? Each week. If you look at the bottom, at the labels, it'll say week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. When it says week, then I know that they're measuring how much longer or the height of each plant each week. We know just based on our prior knowledge, just based on the things that we have done in our life, we know that a plant gets bigger or smaller over time. It gets bigger with time and water and sunlight. The plant gets bigger. We know that, right? That's our schema. We know that. Something we already know. So we're measuring the plant's height each week. On the side here, what are they measuring by? What are they using, inches or centimeters? They're using inches. It says height in inches. So the number scale shows how tall the plants are in inches. So the question is, how tall do you think the plant will be in 5 weeks? In week 1, how many inches is it? 2. Look, if you follow the top of the bar all the way to the number scale, it stops at 2. So in week 1, it was 2 inches. I'm going to write 2 underneath it. In week 2, how many inches was it? 3 inches. In week 3, how many inches? 4. In week 4, how many inches? 7. Let's look at the pattern here. We have 2, 3, 4, 7. So it's growing about 1 or 2 inches every day, right? So in each week. So in week 5, how many inches do you think it'll be? You think it'll be 1 inch? Oh, 9 inches. I'm sorry, I thought you said 1. I was going to go crazy. 9 inches. Very good. It could be 8 too. You're right. You're right. It could be 8. It could be 9. But Brenaya said a really good point. She said, but Miss Yusuf, if you look at the bar graph, the highest that this number scale goes is 8. So it'll probably be 8. But 9 would also be a good answer. Would 10 be a good answer? No. It would either be 9 or 8. The reason 10 would not be a good answer is because the plant grows about 1 or 2 inches every week. It doesn't grow 3, 4, 10 inches a week. Okay? So the height of the plant would be, what did we say? 8 or 9 inches in week 5. All right, it says use the graph, describe the change the data shows. So looking at this graph, the title of the graph is what? Rainfall in my town. So how much rain falls in the town? And they're measuring how much rain falls in their town each day, each week, or each month. Each month, look at the bottom, it says month. They're measuring 4 months, May, June, July, and August. Here, are they the number scale? Do these numbers represent inches or centimeters or what? Inches. It says amount in inches. You have to participate and pay attention. If you're not participating and paying attention, I promise I will stop where I am and you're going to do the rest on your own. Please try to pay attention. Try to focus. Alright, so now we're going to analyze what's in this bar graph. So how many inches did it rain in the month of May? 4. It rained about 4 inches. You can write it here, you can write it underneath, it doesn't matter. In June, how many inches did it rain? 3. In July, how many inches did it rain?
2.
In August, how many inches did it rain? 1. Does anyone see a pattern? What is the pattern?
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's measuring 1 less inch each month, right? It's raining less and less each month. In May, it rained the most. In August, it rained the least. And it's raining less and less each month. In May, it was 4. In June, it was 3. In July, it was 2. In August, it was 1. So the amount of rainfall is what? Is less each month. Is less. How much less? Good. Is 1 inch less each month. Let's be specific. Is 1 inch less each month. So if you look on number 1, it doesn't even ask you a question. It just tells you complete the sentence. So you have to analyze the bar graph and then look at the changes and then write it down. The amount of rainfall, what about it? Is 1 inch less each month. If you want to go further with that, you can, and you can say it rained the most in May and the least in August. Moving on, let's look at number 2. Use the graph to solve. What is this graph telling us?
The weight of the puppy.
Good, they're measuring the puppy weight, the weight of the puppy. Each week, each month, or each year?
Week.
Each week. Can you measure the weight of a puppy each month? Yes, you can. If you do like the first of each month or whatever, 1 time each month, you can measure the weight because obviously if it's a puppy, it's getting bigger, right? Can you do it each year? Yes, you can. Why not? You weigh yourselves each year, don't you? Maybe even often. Yes, you do. You go to the doctor's office and they weigh you each time you come in. They're measuring how big you're getting. Okay? So yeah, you can measure each week, each month, each year. Why do you guys think that they measured the puppy each week, though? What do we know about puppies or babies? Yes, Haney? It's really small, and they grow what, Brenaya? They grow fast. So do babies. They grow fast, right? So I would probably measure them each week. If you would measure them each day, would that just be too often? Yeah, if you measured them each day, you're not going to see a big difference. That's too often. But each week, you will see a difference. So anyway, let's go back and read. It says, describe the change that the data shows. So they're weighing the puppy in what? Pounds. It says here, they're weighing the puppy in pounds each week. So the weight of the puppy in week 1 is how much does he weigh? He weighs 2 what? He weighs 2 pounds. In week 2, how much does he weigh?
3 pounds.
3 pounds. In week 3, how much does he weigh?
5 pounds.
5 pounds. In week 4, how much does he weigh? 6 pounds. Excellent job. So let's look. Is the weight of the puppy getting bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
Bigger. So the weight of the puppy is what? Is getting larger or bigger. And what does that tell us about the puppy? Is he growing or not growing? Let's write that down. The puppy is growing each week. All right, predict how many pounds will the puppy weigh in 5 weeks?
Oh, that's probably 7.
Maybe 7 or 8. Very good. I think, Bernaya, if you have a question, what happens to your hand? Raise it. If you have a comment, what happens to your hand? If you have an answer, what happens to your hand? Thank you. That's 2 laps. All right. So, 2, 3, 5, 6. And Mariah, how much will the puppy weigh in 5 weeks? About 7 pounds. Very good. All right. Use the graph to solve. Bianca is learning to play the guitar. Describe the change that the data shows. So it says Bianca's guitar practice. She practices how often? She practices each week for how many weeks? For 4 weeks. And does it measure by the minute or by the hour? Look where the number scale is. It says hours. It measures how many hours she practices each week. So in week 1, how many hours does Bianca practice? 1 what? She practices 1 hour. In week 2, how often does she practice? In week 3, how often does she practice? In week 4, how often does she practice? 5 hours. So the question is, what's happening each week? Is she practicing more or practicing less? She's practicing more. So the amount of practice time is increasing or decreasing? Increasing. It's getting bigger. So the amount of practice time is increasing or getting bigger. So the amount of practice time is increasing or getting bigger. Why do you think the number of hours changed from week to week? Why do you think she's practicing more each week? Okay, and do you think it's getting easier for her to practice? Yes, because the more you practice, the easier it gets. So I think that the number of hours changed from week to week is because she's practicing more and more because playing guitar is getting easier. So let's write that down. I think the number of hours changed from week to week. I'm going to type this because I can't write. All right, so again, the number of hours changed each week because she is practicing more and playing guitar is becoming easier. All right, so go ahead and write that down. If you need some time, pause the video now. All right, so predict how many hours Bianca might practice in 5 weeks. So if she practiced 5 hours in 4 weeks, everyone, how many hours will she practice in 5? 6. 6 hours. Very good. About 6 hours. Okay. You are going to complete pages 684 to 686 on your own. You are not going to work on the purple pages today. You are not going to work on the purple pages today. You're just going to stop at page 686. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. I will see you later. Bye.